On the evening of August 21st, 1955, 5 adults and 7 children arrived at the Hopkinsville police station claiming that small alien creatures from a spaceship were attacking their farmhouse and they had been holding them off with gunfire for nearly 4 hours. 2 of the adults, Elmer Sutton and Billy Ray Taylor, claimed they had been shooting at 12 to 15 short, dark figures who repeatedly popped up at the doorway or peered into the windows. Concerned about a possible gun battle between local citizens, 4 city police, 5 state troopers, 3 deputy sheriffs, and 4 military police from the nearby U.S. Army Fort Campbell drove to the Sutton farmhouse located near the town of Kelly in Christian County, Kentucky. The search yielded nothing apart from evidence of gunfire and holes in window and door screens made by the firearms. But the next day, neighbors told 2 officers that the families had packed up and left after claiming the creatures had returned about 3:30 in the morning. When Project Blue Book investigated the area, they determined the whole incident was a hoax. So what really happened that warm August evening? Let's dig deeper to see what truths lie in the woods of Kentucky. Earlier in the evening, people in the Kelly area reported seeing a red streak go across the sky as if a craft was crashing, and that looked like smoke was coming out of the back of the craft. Elmer Sutton, a young man in his early 20s, nicknamed Lucky, was visiting his mom Gleanie Langford and 3 younger half-siblings at the farmhouse he had grown up in, 8 miles north of Hopkinsville. On break from his job with the traveling carnival, Lucky had his wife, Vera, and their friends Billy Ray and June Taylor with him for the weekend. His brother JC and sister-in-law Aline, plus a family friend, OP, were also there that night. The party of 11 had settled in for a card game when Billy Ray made an outlandish claim. Walking back into the house from a trip to the well to refill his water glass, he blurted out that he had just seen a round metallic object with rainbow-colored streaks trailing behind it, moving through the sky above the farm. His companions took it as a prank at first, writing it off as another one of the tricks Billy Ray and Lucky liked to play on each other. But Billy Ray seemed genuinely bothered by whatever he had seen, despite the others' insistence that it was probably a meteor or shooting star. Billy Ray got Lucky to walk out to the well with him so that he could point out exactly where the object had gone across the sky. They were headed back to resume their game when something stopped them in their tracks. They claimed a glowing object approaching from the woods behind the house. As it got closer, they realized it was a short, human-like creature with large eyes, 2 legs that seemed to float rather than walk, and 2 arms raised as if in surrender. The 2 men freaked out and ran inside and started locking all the doors and windows. Around the same time, a neighbor about a quarter mile north of them noticed strange lights in the woods behind the Sutton farm, and he figured that the family was just searching for one of their pigs that had gotten loose. Lucky grabbed a 12-gauge shotgun, and Billy grabbed a .22 caliber rifle. They were sitting there silently, waiting, while everyone else except Lucky and the children talked in the living room, when a figure about 3 feet tall appeared in the doorway out of the darkness. Gleanie screamed, and everyone came running. Billy Ray shot at the would-be intruder, piercing a hole in the screen door. Then, spurred by curiosity, he stepped onto the porch. As he did, he says a clawed hand reached down from the roof, grazing his hair. Not knowing the creature's intent, Aline grabbed Billy Ray and yanked him back inside the house. Lucky stepped outside, aiming his gun at the roof. The creature he shot rolled off the roof and disappeared into the woods, apparently uninjured. In the living room, a pair of glowing eyes and a set of talons appeared at the window. JC shot at it through the glass with a 20-gauge shotgun close behind. Billy Ray followed up with a bullet. The struck creature backflipped and took off running. Lucky and Billy Ray surveyed the front yard while JC, OP, and Gleanie waited inside. JC ready at the door with a cocked gun. Someone yelled to look up in the maple tree. This time, everyone could clearly see one of the little men perched on a branch above them. They shot at it, but instead of falling, the being floated off. The noise they heard when they fired at another one coming around the corner sounded like bullets hitting metal. It, too, floated away. Realizing their gunfire was useless, the men retreated. They noticed that whenever a light was turned on, the creatures would run away, so the family turned on all the lights in the house. But it was becoming abundantly clear that these goblins couldn't be deterred, at least not by any means an ordinary farm family had at their disposal. It was time to get out of there. When the coast was clear, everyone made a break for the trucks, piling in as fast as they could. They immediately went to the local police station, and after they relayed their story to the officer on duty, the officer phoned Chief Russell Greenwell, who in turn radioed Kentucky State Police, the Christian County Sheriff's Office, and Fort Campbell Army Base, which dispatched its own military police. The local paper got wind of it as well, and they sent a staff photographer. Within an hour, at least a half dozen law enforcement and media members had converged on the Sutton farm, along with a returning family. Authorities searched the property with flashlights, but found no sign of the little men, only holes in the window screens and plenty of shotgun shell casings. One officer noticed something glowing in the woods, but a search returned nothing. The ground beneath where Lucky had shot one of the alleged beings appeared to have been stained with something that gave off an iridescent sheen when viewed from an angle. Officers questioned the family members separately, but all they got was the same consistent description of the night's events. After hours of fruitless investigation, the police and the Army police left. At 3:30 in the morning, after a fitful nap that never entered deep sleep, Glennie awoke to the sight of one of the little men on the other side of her bedroom window. She called out to Lucky, who was dozing on the couch in the living room. He and Billy Ray spent the next couple of hours watching guard with their guns. The creatures left just before daybreak, the last the family or anyone in the area would ever see of them. Committee for Skeptical Inquiry member and skeptic Joe Nickel notes that the family could have misidentified eagle owls or great horned owls, which are nocturnal, fly silently, have yellow eyes, and aggressively defend their nests for the creatures. According to Nickel, meteor sightings also occurred at the time that could explain Billy Ray Taylor's claim that he saw a bright light streak across the sky and disappear beyond a tree line some distance from the house. According to author Brian Dunning, there are simply too many similarities between the creatures reported by the families and an aggressive pair of the local great horned owls, which do stand about 2/3 of a meter tall. Great horned owls have been known to attack people, and they are the only known bird of prey to have ever killed a human being. This doesn't explain the glow that the neighbors or the officers saw, but this is a strong possibility. Project Blue Book was called in to investigate, and they had their full report within a few days, which was that the whole incident was a hoax created by either mass hysteria, mass hallucination, a tall tale gone wild with the help of owls, or the help of alcohol. This is one of the first UFO incidents I read about when I was young, and it's one of my favorites to read about too. I wish there were more photos taken of the scene of the attack so that we could have a better sense of what the area looked like during the attack. And you would think that with all those newspaper and staff and army people there, that someone would have more photos aside from, I believe there's only 2 images of the area during the night of the attack. Because if we had these images, we could roll out a few explanations for the goblins. I do believe something attacked the cabin, and the behavior of the creatures doesn't sound like an owl to me. Plus, you have to remember that these people grew up in the area, so you would think that they know what a great horned owl looks like, and that they wouldn't put bullet holes in their own houses over a few owls. Another explanation for the metallic sound that the creatures allegedly made when they were shot is that the bullets could have hit cars parked around the farm, which I don't believe that because it would have been reported by somebody. Great horned owls will attack people if they get close to their nest, and when Billy Ray went out into the woods, he could have disturbed the nest and the owls decided to attack. That is very possible. A few years ago, an article came out saying that people in Kentucky were again seeing goblin creatures in the woods near the West Virginia border, and that the creatures closely matched the description of the Kelly-Hopkinsville goblins. I think it's very strange that Project Blue Book was barely involved in a case of this magnitude, because this type of encounter was extremely rare at this time in history. So what do you think happened that night in August 1955? Was a family attacked by goblins from outer space, or were they just aggressive owls protecting their young?